Hello, I'm Northern Soul Reaper and this is my Chapter 7 review of Guardian of the Witch. So, let's get started. So Chapter 7 of Guardian of the Witch picks up exactly where the last chapter left off last week. We see Fafnir and Gen in the aftermath of that last strike that Fafnir managed to land on Gen. The full page panel sees Gen flying backwards with Fafnir making that final sword strike. And we get on the next page we see that Gen is kind of thinking to himself, oh, you know, what's going on? He totally caught me off guard, and he's kind of going through in his head, and then, you know, this is the point where it's like, yeah, okay, so he's going to get up and then things are really going to kick off. But then Ruli kind of steps in and Gen basically says it's time to retreat. It's time for them to leave. So it's like the battle is brought to quite an abrupt end, which was an interesting choice for a series where I was already kind of thinking that it had pacing issues. Here we have this fight just kind of ending before it even really started. And the excuse that Gen gives is that Ruli and Gen have to go back to command and report that Manasfa has broken her collar. Not quite sure why they have to do that, because if they're ordered to kill Nata and Fafnir and capture Manasfa, not really sure why it matters whether they go back and tell people that she's broken her collar, unless there's a reason because she's like super powerful and they need more backup and they need to bring them in. Not sure. But yeah, for whatever reason they're about to retreat. Gen says to Fafnir that you know, try and save your witch if you want. If you ever do manage to do what you're trying to do, we'll gladly be your slaves. You know, we'll gladly accept that we were wrong if you manage to do it. But he says to Fafnir, there are no happy endings in this world, remember. There is nothing in this world that is good. And Fafnir is like, yes, I totally understand that, but I'm going to try anyway. I have to do it anyway. And with that, Ruli uses her magic to basically shoot them off into the sky, Team Rocket style, and they're just kind of like, right, and off and away. And that's the fight over. Very odd. So after the fight, Manasfa and Fafnir tend to Nata. Basically, luckily the blast just knocked her out, so thankfully, you know, my concerns from previous weeks were unfounded. She seems to be okay. So Fafnir says we need to get to a doctor anyway and get a doctor to look over her. And Manasfa says that no matter how impossible things are getting, it looks like we should be okay, the three of us together. And then she says, you know, and even if you're totally useless, Fafnir, I'll just hit them with another fire blast. So Manasfa has a totally different remembrance of events that literally just happened. She forgets that her collar broke and she basically couldn't control her powers. She's like, yeah, I'll just blast him with another fireball. Obviously in her head, things were a lot cooler and she was a lot better than what she thought she was. Which Fafnir points out. He's like, hang on, you couldn't control your magic for crap. And then she says, yeah, well, she'll learn and you better start fighting smarter. She said, you better start fighting smarter, Mr. Chivalry Dork. And he's like, well, okay, fine, you gluttonous tyrant, that goes double for you. So still got that back and forth. And right as they're about to tend to Nata, Manasfa collapses. So now Fafnir has both women who are seemingly knocked out. And he's like, oh crap, well, I've got to get them both to a doctor. And at that, Nata wakes up and she's like, no, you can't take Manasfa to a doctor. And she's like, if the doctor examines her, they might figure out that the evils are how witches get their power. I'll treat her. So they take her to a well and they start to pour water on her burns, because that's clearly what's painful. You know, when she broke her collar, she sustained some pretty bad burns on her neck. So they start to try and treat that, and Nata's like, this will cool her down and then I'll make an ointment for her wounds. I've been trained in this, I know how to treat her wounds. Fafnir's a little apprehensive at this, but he does agree to let Nata kind of treat Manasfa, and she listens to Manasfa's heartbeat and she's like, yeah, it's a normal heartbeat, but the mark on her cheek is starting to expand. And she says that she can treat the wounds, she can treat burns and wounds, but she has no idea how to stop this mark on her cheek. And Fafnir's saying, oh, well, this is going to be bad. And he's thinking to himself, is she becoming an evil right now? And we get a shot of this, the mark on her cheek that she normally has is totally kind of spreading up one side of her cheek. And Fafnir's basically contemplating now, is this the time? Is she going to become an evil? Do I have to put her down already? You know, before we've even gotten started. In the meantime, the villagers aren't just sitting idly by whilst two guardians duke it out. They come out and they see the craters left by all this battle, and they're like, what's going on? And then someone says, runs in and is like, a messenger bird has just come from Bern. A witch and her 2 servants have escaped. And they kind of put 2 and 2 together before the elder's eyes, who was kind of covering for them, and he's like, oh crap, well, you better just run now. Which is fine, because our heroes are already on their way. They've left the town, and Fafnir is basically carrying Manasfa, and he's like, okay, fine, we just need to get to the next town to the northwest. We'll head to the northwest. And they're like, we're going to be okay, right? And looking out on the barren landscape, just as 4 massive evils descend on them, 10 times the size of our heroes. So Fafnir tries to do battle, but he is exhausted. He is quickly kind of hit by one of the evils. And it's not looking good. So he says, look, get yourselves away. You run. I'll hold off these evils while you go. And I was like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, no, you both have to survive. I'll protect you as long as I can, give you enough time to escape. So they're getting ready to run. Fafnir's getting ready to fight to the death with these evils. And right as the evils are about to attack, we see a shot of them freezing in place, and then there's a shot of a needle, and we're introduced to a new character who's holding a bunch of syringes, and he's basically going on about these different ingredients. If you mix them together, you inject them, it'll basically, in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee, it will stop an evil in its tracks. They'll cease to function entirely, and the evils just completely topple over and stop. And on the next page we get a little bit better of a look with him. He's wearing a big top hat, and he's holding these syringes and has like a skull around his neck, and a staff that's like a skeleton's hand is gripping his hand. And Fafnir's kind of wondering to himself, who is this guy? And all the bloke kind of says is, oh, that girl. I know she's kind of going through a mystical spasm right now. And that's where the chapter ends. So we've met a new character. So that's chapter 7. I don't know what to say about this one other than like the fight just kind of ended. It was really abrupt. Like that blow that Fafnir landed on Gen was obviously a big one. It was a crippling blow. It ended the chapter last week, but I felt we were gearing up for at least like half a chapter's worth of battle. A little bit more. But it just sort of ended, and Gen and Ruli just retreated for. I would say that that's a pretty glaring plot hole personally, because unless there's some reason we don't know about, there's no reason for them to report Manasfa's collar coming off and leaving the battle. They were told to kill Fafnir and Nata and capture the witch. So why would they just leave? They've already seen that Manasfa can't control her powers, so they could have continued on and fought on. It just seemed like a cheap and quick way to get them out of the picture to continue the chapter. And then things move on at a bit of a clip. We see that the evil seed is grown inside Manasfa even more due to her collar coming off, and the mark on her cheeks expanding. Then the villagers find out that they're not good. They need to be captured or whatever, and then they flee. And then we meet another new character. There's a lot going on. For 7 chapters, there's quite a lot happened, but also not a lot's happened. It's a strange balance. I'm going to continue reading, obviously, and doing these chapter reviews, but I'm not sure if this is going to be one that I'm looking as forward to each week to read. This was a fine chapter, but I just felt like, again, the story hasn't found a pace that was that it's kind of settled into. When the series first started and we had that first chapter, I felt like the story in the set was really good, and I feel like these last few chapters haven't really been capitalizing on that energy, that the momentum that was picked up. So yeah, a bit of a downer of a chapter review, sorry to say. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the chapter. Do you disagree with me? Do you think this was a good chapter? What do you think the reason was that Gen and Ruli just retreated? Is there another reason I'm not thinking of here? Is there some reason why they would have to go and report this straight away? Yeah, so let me know in the comments below what you thought of this chapter. Are you going to continue reading week to week? Are you dropping out? You know, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell. That's the best way to get these videos as and when they come out. It's a great way to support the channel. And as always, leaving a comment. It's great to engage with you guys in the comments as well. Thank you so much. That's it for today's video. I've been Northern Soul Reaper, and until next time, goodbye.